So nice to see everybody. So have a seat. Cross your shins, one in front of the other. Slide the feet forward slightly, flexing the foot. Push the foot down into the floor so you feel your thighs flex a little bit. Place your hands on your thighs, lift your spine up. Drop the shoulders away from the neck. And let the eyes close for a moment. Breathe. So as some of us come out of no water or no power or whatever trial of life has been put before you, whatever test has been put before you for patience or survival or whatever, as you come out of these things, or you might still be in the midst of them in some way, shape, or form, remember that there is no testament without a test. And the practice of yoga is not just to correct the things that happen from it, but to let us process it and learn from it in its fullest extent. To let us enjoy the richness and fullness of even terrible or hard or challenging or sad or even happy or wonderful situations. Not to just repeat or to dodge again, but to be aware of who we were during those times. To be aware of that actions and reactions we made so that when things happen again, because so often in life they do, that we can move forward with some level of clarity. Not just knowledge of how to fix or how to dodge or how to change, but there is some clearness of who we are in that process. That we're not just in survival mode. We're not just reacting without thought, nor are we just thinking without action. In the second book of the sutras, it talks about the actions we take with the knowledge we have, with the wisdom we've gleaned from this practice. Every time we get on the yoga mat, what we're here for tonight is to see what's there for us to go through, not just in our poses, but what we have gone through to now, to receive the healing that yoga offers, but to also give ourselves turn that mirror on ourselves. So instead of looking out at the world, waiting for the other shoe to drop, or looking for the next joy, or whatever it is, we turn inward and look at the person who is surviving, who is healing, who is growing. Because what I know is yoga is not a set of rules to live by, but a place to examine, explore, to practice, and to be unabashedly myself. And that means successes and failures. That means learning, some tears, some joy. So that when things happen again, because if you're still living, things are still happening. When they happen again, we don't just react, but we act with clarity. We act with wisdom, and ultimately, we act in ways that affect not just us, but as we all know, because we practice yoga, we ultimately end up acting in ways that affect other people's lives. And to do so in a way that we can believe in. And ultimately, maybe not feel good about, but can look at and go, I acted with integrity, with clarity, because I looked at myself first. Bring the palms together at the chest, let the thumbs touch the sternum. Shoulders down away from the ears, chest still lifted, legs still engaged. Take a nice deep breath in. We'll om shortly 3 times and begin. Bow your head. Salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your hands into your lap. Let your head rise and your eyes open. Great. So nice to see no one snuck off yet. Shubha's fully in here. That's great. Hi, Shubha. It's nice to see you here. All right. Let's go ahead and come to a standing position. We'll warm up with a couple standing poses, and then we'll do some seated stuff. Work those hips. Work the feet. I don't think there was a request for footwork, but there was a cry for help. Tristan is not happy. Step nice and wide on your yoga mat, 3.5 to 4 foot apart, please. When you stand wide, remember to make sure that the distance you've stepped is a slight challenge to your normal habit. Right? How do we know if we're ready for the challenges of life unless in the safe space of our yoga mat with the teacher with us, we kind of stretch here, right? We go outside of our normal. So everyone step 1/2 inch to 1 inch wider. Get out of your norm, because even though we pray for normalcy to come back, for calmness or for peace or whatever it is, and we get that from yoga, we oddly enough find that in the yoga practice outside of our habit. No one does this stuff all the time before they get taught by somebody in class, right? Even if you've read the old stories, like Krishna taught somebody this. So you're stretching outside of your normal habits in every pose or every action, just so that when the challenges come up, you know you got something going on. Turn your left toes in more, pivot on your right heel and turn your right toes out. Make sure your hips didn't twist, but keep your pelvis pointing the same direction as your left foot, so your pelvis didn't rotate with your right thigh. When I say push through the heel and turn your toes out, you're turning that toe and thigh out, not your whole torso. Stretch your arms wide. Vidabhadrasana 2, bend the right knee for a moment. So check in with yourself mentally. All the stuff that you already think about or have feelings about in this pose. Your likes, your dislikes, the alignments that you know work for you or don't work for you. And just because every practice is an exploration, check in with your body at how it feels. The knee above the hip, the knee above the ankle, stretching through that back leg. Where is your power? Where is your strength? And then have the bravery to ask yourself, where am I feeling bad? Where do I feel imbalanced or out of whack? And then remember that you are not a coin. There are not two sides to you. Mr. Angar would say, everybody is a diamond, multifaceted. So take a nice deep breath in. And as you bend that right knee a little deeper, check in to see what challenges are as you bend that knee and where your body doesn't want to go. So look at your feet. Make sure you're not digging your toenails into the mat. Use your vision first to look at your body in the pose, your feet to make sure you're not digging the nails in, the alignment of your feet to your hip. And even when your arms are out, are your hands the same height? Visually see where you are in space and then start to feel it. So if your hands are now the same height, feel what that muscular action is like in your back as you keep stretching the arms out to keep that height. As your hips go down, and remember the hips on the back side of the body, don't just push your groin down, drop your butt, and you lift your spine taller. What does it feel like to make that change? And then look at your body, where are your hands, where are your feet? And then take a moment and feel it. Not just the intensity or the stretch, but feel what extension is. You want these good habits that yoga offers you, but just doing them is not enough. You have to feel them. Because the thing you are going to remember is the feeling, not just the doing. I've done 20 years of this. I can't remember every class, but I can remember a lot of the feelings I had about poses. Straighten your right leg, turn your right toes in very deeply, turn them in extra, and then pivot on your left heel, turn your toes out. So take a second. You've already done one side, but be willing to give this side the benefit of a whole different experience. Exhale, bend the left knee, stretch the thigh out. Remember, the focus of our practice, this isn't to do tons of yoga poses. If you want a fast yoga class, ask. I'll put you through an hour long of just structural hard work. But this is a class. We're here to learn. We're here to take and get some insight that the teacher may offer and apply it to ourselves so we learn about us. And we learn some fun new poses along the way. Bend that left knee, stretch the thigh out, and then look at your feet and then go up. Are your feet in line with each other? Your left heel to your heel arch of your right foot. Are you digging your toes in the mat, doing cat mudra? Do not do cat mudra. When you look down, are you leaning over the left thigh, or can you keep your spine ascending up? That's hard. Are your hips more or less even across the top? Or is one hip higher than the other? Look at these different parts of yourselves rather than just having this done to you. I am not interested in, as a teacher, just doing yoga to you. I offer you these things so you may do it to yourself. Thus that when I'm gone, you will continue to do it. Take a nice breath, extend that left thigh, make that thigh challenge the strength of that leg. You want to get stronger, you want to heal, your normal doesn't do it. Outside of your comfort of your own pain is healing, regardless. Take a breath. Don't quit because it's hard. Stop because it hurts, but don't quit because it's hard. Straighten the left leg, pivot on the left heel, turn the toes in, take both hands to the floor in front of you, standing straddle, Pasada Padottanasana. Push the thigh bone back, keep the leg strong. Rotate the thighs internally, pivot on your heels and turn your toes in a little bit deeper so the thigh has to twist like the bone of the leg inserts into the hip. And check in with yourself. When does this become passive for you? Should never be. In all the years I've done this, and all the teachers I've studied with, everything is a discussion and a devotion to the discipline of attention and awareness. Dhyana, that sharpness that allows us to consistently be aware. So check in where you're passive in your body. And passivity does not mean doing nothing. Passivity might just mean I'm forcing it and gripping it and then ignoring it because I think it's working. So look visually. Where are your feet? What are your hands doing with your own eyes? Where's your chest? Where's your hips? And then begin to feel it. If it's visually looks good to you, it feels good to you, then start being aware of how does the skin feel across the muscle? How does the deep breath feel when it moves the skin and the muscle? And then ultimately, where are my bones? How does it feel to have the weight of skin and muscle on the bones? And then Mr. Anger would say, congratulations, now you get to tell me what it feels like between your skin and muscle and between your skin, bone and muscle. You don't get there, don't worry, but keep yourself in it with intention. Even if you have done this so much, you could do it passively. The intensity is not how hard you push yourselves. The intensity is your own awareness, focusing on yourself, where your body is at all times. Who are you in this? What comes up for you in this? That is the way the structural work of Iyengar goes. Because if you find you can get through this pose, you get confidence that you can survive a teacher torturing you. Place your hands on your hips, bring your spine up, strong legs, keep the legs engaged. Pivot on your right heel, turn your toes out. Take both hands, bending the right knee, take both hands to the floor near your right foot, one on each side. So you're in a modified lunge. Right knee is bent. Take both hands, walk them in front of your right foot about 12 inches or so, out in front of your toes. Slide your right foot back towards your left foot a couple inches. And then exhale, lean your body weight into the right leg, into the arms, lift your left leg up into the air with your toes turned out to the side, higher than your hip if you can, just a little, not that much, Tris. There you go. Half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. If you would like to put your foot on a wall or a chair or hands on a blocks or a chair, please do so. Remember, this isn't about, I have to get this shape to attain something. Just the action of getting into it and supporting yourself in it is it. All the works in yoga are about unattachment to the fruits or even why we do this. But we do this because we know it is what we need. And I did, yes. Left hand goes to your left hip if you can. Rotate your left hip up to the ceiling by pushing through the right leg. Use the strength of your left leg to root through the ground. Push that foot down, just don't dig your nails in. And wobble a bunch. Good. If you shake, you know you're alive. But what you don't do is quit because it's hard. Very nice. Very good, Anu. Come out, take a breath. Turn your right toes out more. You're all thinking, oh my God, why is this the second pose? There you go, friends. You made it. Exhale. Bring your left leg down to where it was into the lunge. Keep the right knee bent. Bring your body back up to warrior two. And when you come from one pose to the second pose, can you go back to that feeling you created, that openness and that balance that you created the first time you did it this time? Is it different than the last time? And even though the pose might feel different because you've warmed up, you've done another pose and then this one, that doesn't mean you don't still give it that same sharpness. Your mind does not reset between poses. Your attention only gets sharper. Your discipline only more refined. The body will wobble, things will be strong, things will feel weak. But the thing that does not change is your devotion to attention to you. Because I could ask right now, what are the things in your room distracting you? And you could tell me. Even if it's your friend that's there, or the potted plants, or the ropes, whatever. Straighten the right leg, turn the toes in, turn the left toes out. Take both hands to the foot, bending the left knee. Slide your left foot back a couple inches. Walk both of your arms out away from your foot. And then when you're ready, take the leg up into the air, leaning your weight into your hands, into your feet. Don't worry about straightening your left leg right out the gate. Get the leg to be stable. What that takes for you is going to maybe be the leg straight or the knee slightly bent. Find strength and balance. So that's what you're practicing for yourself. So if straightening the knee makes you fall and you feel unconfident and you feel you're hurting yourself in some way, or you feel like you can't even begin to get into it, then bend the knee. Put your foot on a wall. Turn your right toes out to the side. Roll your right hip to the ceiling. Push down to that left leg, even if the knee stays bent. A little high on that foot there at least. And then if you can, take your right hand to your right hip or take your arm straight up into the air. Here's the fun thing. Or at least for me. If you wobble and fall out of the pose, at least you know this is a pose you're wobbly in. Then you get to decide, is this something I live with? Or is this something I want to change? Keep going, a few more seconds. Take a breath, bend the left knee, take your right foot down back into the lunge. Bring your body up to warrior two again, Virabhadrasana 2, arms out. Left knee bent. Use your eyes, look at your feet first. Most of you probably got your toenails into the mat. And even though you've done the pose 3 times so far, what are the old habits that have happened on the 4th time? What are the things that are easier now than they were before? And can you still, even though parts of you might want to be ignored, do not let yourself ignore them and pay attention to the whole self. Okay. Take a nice breath, straighten your left leg, turn the toes in, bring the arms down, bring the feet together. Tadasana for a moment, heels together, calf together, thigh together. So you've put balance in one part and one leg, and then the other, you've put width in the hips, you've stretched the hamstring. So now do Tadasana from those places, push down through the feet, especially the outer edge of the foot to the big toe, all the way through the outer edge to the heel. Squeeze the calf in. Ask the bones of your leg to come towards each other, calf to calf, thigh to thigh, hip to hip, so that your pelvis and your whole body must go up. Not by pushing up from your knee or pushing your knees back, but the heel pushes, the calf pushes through the heel, the quad lifts the pelvis. Thighs move in, calf moves in. Take a nice breath, stretch your arms out wide, like Virabhadrasana 2. Turn your palms back to the room behind you. Push your hands back just an inch back farther. So you imagine there was a wall behind you and you're pushing your palms flat into it. So you feel your shoulder blades and your back flex. Keep that shoulder blade and back flexing. Take both arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. And now with the arms going up, can you let your ribs go up? Can you let your bottom rib come away from the pelvis on the sides? Make your side body do it. And then breathe. So even here in Tadasana, what's going on for you? Does one leg feel stronger than the other? Take a moment, keep your arms, keep your legs, look down at your feet, make sure your feet are even. Look at your thighs to make sure they're even front to back. And like Tristan put her hands on her hips there for a moment to make sure her hips were even front to back or top to left to right. And then you go back up. You re-enter it with clarity. And then you got to stop looking and start feeling. Because yoga is brain work in a way. Not just remembering all of this, but remembering all of you in this. It's hard to remember your toes, your heels, your calf, your ankle, your thigh, your inner thigh, your outer thigh, your glutes that are flexed, your quads that are lifted, your bottom ribs that are floating, your front ribs that come back, your shoulder blades that lift, your shoulder that are wide, your head that's tall, your chest that's broad, the hamstrings that lift the buttock, all of that, all hard. And the more. So take a moment in the pose. What's this? Feel the body. Feel the breath moving the body. what moves, what doesn't when you breathe in, and then feel the skin on the muscle, muscle on the bone. Exhale, bring the arms down. Grab a yoga strap and lay on your back. We're going to work the hips to work the back a little bit more. I want to start getting us into more inversion work online with some different ways to modify these poses. So laying on your back, so first we're going to stretch the back muscle first. So laying on your back, have a yoga strap. You can use a towel or a belt or any kind of thing like that. You're going to cross your right ankle over your left thigh, please. And then draw your left knee to the body, putting the strap around the left foot. Yeah, that's fine. Around the front 5 metatarsal. And then you pull. You pull on that leg. Do not try to push your hips down into the floor when you pull. You let your butt lift a little bit. Let your chin stay tilted up slightly so you don't crush the neck down. And when you pull on that leg and feel the buttock begin to lift, think about, can you flex your right thigh and push your foot into your left thigh? And then push your left foot up against your yoga strap. Like your left leg is trying to extend from the calf to the foot into the yoga strap. And hold. Regardless of your flexibility, you can start to let glutes come up off the floor. So the more you bend your elbows wide, just like that, Miss Linda, the more your butt comes up, the better. This is to actually begin to stretch the back. This is not about forcing the hamstring or the hip. Both will work. But if you keep stretching that left leg long and push that right foot into the left thigh, you're going to keep your hips engaged in a way that will help. So the glute lifts up off the floor, the back rounds. We do not keep our spine perfectly straight. Flexion and mobility of the spine is important to overall health. Exhale, switch legs. Left ankle over your right thigh. Stretch your right leg into the air, please. Hook the strap around your foot. As you start to bend the elbows and use the arms to draw the leg in, let your butt lift up off the floor and more focus on, can you point the right leg and stretch through that foot like you're pushing the yoga strap really hard, and then flex your left thigh and push your left ankle into your right thigh bone. Keeping the legs active and using the arms to do the pull to stretch the hip.
Okay. Yeah, I feel the difference. I just keep maintaining it.
We'll grab your foot. Bend your elbows. A few more seconds. But again, just like with the other poses, because you're laying down, there's the challenge of passivity happening. Don't let yourself be passive in this in the form of your own senses. Some parts will work harder than the others, yes, but that does not mean you do not still pay sharp attention as if your whole body was on fire. Tristan says it is. So she's with you. Exhale, take the legs out of the pose. Very good. Now, you will need, you can use pillows or couch cushions or bolsters. I wouldn't use a block, but if you don't have another thing, you can use rolled up blankets for this. So I'm gonna give Tristan the bolster here. She's gonna lay on her back. Watch Tristan for a sec, everybody. That way about 3 inches. Right there, great. Lay down. So if you watch Tris for a sec, so seated forward fold versus inverted forward fold. Tristan's going to lift her hips and place that bolster underneath her lower back to mid back. So it might, if it's touching her bottom ribs, good. Okay.
Should it touch the bottom ribs or should the bottom ribs be on it?
That's fine. She's going to grab her yoga strap. She's going to stretch both legs up in the air. I'm very particular. I like this pose a lot because it does a lot of really good things. If you can grab your feet, feel free to grab your feet, but you want your arms to be straight, whether you're holding the strap or grabbing the foot. When Tristan starts to pull on this, notice her knees bend. That's already not good. Point the feet and extend through the leg. Most of the poses where we will get into the legs to help your back actively must engage the legs to extend. If you just pull on the strap and your knees bend, you're going to compress into your lower back some. You must stretch those legs like you were trying to tear your hand out of the shoulder or the strap out of your hands. It is that much work. Because as you take a deep belly breath, you do not flex your core, but you just draw your navel down to your spine and then bend your elbows, pulling your legs over. Her butt's way in the air, that's okay. But she still has to extend those legs towards the hands or strap. And then take a belly breath and draw her bottom ribs down. If she does that, she will feel a stretch from about her mid back all the way through her heels. Oh yeah, she's there. Join her. She suffers without you. I like Pratima's like, get me in it. Get your butt in the air, Pratima. Let it go up. The butt must lift. Yes, dear, yes. Walk your feet down that wall. Use the wall. Push your feet into that wall hard. There you go. Good modification. You could just lay there like that. You can let your arms relax, Pratima. It's okay. Good. I do that variation all the time with the wall. That's a good one. Let your butts come in the air. Do not try to keep everything down. Use more height if you're having trouble getting the legs to go over you. The more height, the better. Shubha, climb your arms up your strap as close to your feet as you can get. And then when you exhale, don't push your hips down. Pull your middle ribs down and let your butt lift off of all your support. There you go. Keep going. That's it. Exactly. Very good. Nice, Sanjeev. Now bend your elbows wide, friend, and point your feet harder. Everybody extend their legs and point their foot like you're trying to give yourself a cramp in your arch.
Ow, ow. It's already cramping in my arch.
Tristan was already there. And then breathe. If you move your bottom ribs down towards the back ribs, you can take deeper breaths into your upper lungs. And the more you bend your elbows wide, even if your feet aren't perfectly over your face, the more you have to stretch the upper back to do so. And then look at your legs, look at your knees. Which knee is working more than the other? Which thigh is flexed more than the other? You look at your feet, which toes are gripping and which toes are stretching? Can you make some level of evenness, even if it means the side working hardest backs off a hair, so you could work equally through all your body? Good. A few more seconds. This pose is a fantastic way to start to prep your shoulders and back for shoulder balance more, especially if you want to do it without like a bunch of blankets, which might as well as keep using. Take both hands, grab a hold of your right foot or put the strap only around your right foot. Make your right leg do the work of both legs. Bend your left knee. Keep your hips where they are. Try to take your left foot back towards the floor and point your toes like you're going to touch the big toe joint down into the floor. But the right leg works harder. The left knee bends, the left toes go for the floor, but the right leg works twice as hard. Woo! Are we aware? No one can say yes. So. I know Tristan is. She's about to like take the dogs and leave me. Bring the left leg back up. Get a hold of both feet with the strap or with your hands. Push your feet against the hands. Really extend. Make them both work equal, and then let go of your right one. Take your right foot towards the floor. Bottom ribs down so your butt stays up a little. Very nice. The puppy dog has opinions on all this. He just wants Savasana for everybody. All right, exhale. Take both legs out of the pose. Yes, she says. Very good. Carefully lift your hips. Take your plops out from underneath your low back. Lower your spine to the floor. Roll to your right and up you come. Virasana or hero pose. If you know that Virasana is tough on your knees or the top of your feet, blocks, blankets, bolsters are good props to have. So if you're going to use a prop, Tristan's grabbed a block. What height do you want it? Goes between your heels, but bring both knees together. Turn back. Stay on your knees with your feet back behind you and take a moment and identify your inner knee, outer knee. When you're standing on your knees like this, you can feel equal, I hope you can, feel equal pressure across the inner knee to outer knee. We should try to maintain that equal pressure, because if we go back into Virasana and the thighs overly rotate in and all the pressure's on the inner knee, this will actually over time damage, and it can make it very hard to actually correct it after you've learned this bad habit. I know, trust me, I did. Squeeze your thighs tight together. Each thigh comes in tight like Tadasana. Each thigh flexes and extends down, and you're trying to put pressure to that outer knee and keep it there. And then you try to sit back. As you slowly sit back, take your hands, take your thumb into your calf, pull your calf out and down towards your heel, wide and back, and then sit down. And then you get to see how far your knees came apart and how much your thighs rotated in. So squeeze your thighs tight again and try to push the outer knee down. Mr. Anger was very clear about this. You must actively flex the thigh and the calf for this pose, not to press your shin or your foot down, but to press the outer knee down. If you cannot feel your thigh flex and feel like you have some control of the inner or outer pressure, you must sit higher. This is not about flex. This is not a flexibility thing. This is a pose that asks us to be very aware of, are we collapsing to the inner groin, like when we sit and just let everything roll in, or can we create the same action like Tadasana and ascend the body from the strength of the legs? So just for a moment as a test, push your inner knee down more than your outer knee. So your thighs rotate in hard. When you do that, your shins come up. And for me, I feel my groin grip and I put pressure on my low back. Now, flex your thigh and put more pressure to your outer knee, right here, down, and feel the lift Your abdominals flex a little bit to do this, and that is the lifted action. This is one of the 6 poses Mr. Angar say you do pranayama from. He's very specific about this pose. When you push down through this outer knee, it allows a lift of the spine. It also will make your feet work way harder, but you know, you walk on them your whole life, you get to work on them now too. So then take a look at your feet. You know, are your toes spread out equally? Start with the small stuff. If your knees are screaming and your hips are tired and you're still trying to figure out why you keep coming back and logging on for class, start with the small stuff. Spread your toes out equally. Are your knees the same distance forward? Push down through that outer knee. Stretch both arms out. Exhale, extend both arms up. And as you push down through the outer knee, stretch the arms up with that same strength and action. Just hold and just work on extension. So you're not pushing your hips down, your hips sit, your legs work harder. Those of us with a lot of low back pain, I say us because I'm in this boat, the tendency can lift the upper body from your low back. The legs to core, pelvic bowl does the work. The back allows movement. The spine is a mobility piece, and it does bear weight, but it should be bearing different weight than all of it. The more you push down through your legs, the more active this can be. So try to find some quad strength. Don't just flex your butt. That's easy for some of us. Flex those thighs and lift. A few more seconds. Exhale, bring your arms down. Come up on your knees. Turn away, so you're facing the door. So Bardva, we're going to do 3. So with your feet together, thighs together, watch Tristan for a sec, so in case you get lost here. You're going to take your right toes, just the toes, across your left Achilles tendon. Take that right knee out. Your knees kind of have to come a little bit apart. So you see her right toes, and only her toes are over her Achilles. Her foot can hang down towards the floor. She's going to sit back, so her left hip hits the right heel, and her right hip goes towards the floor. If you were sitting on a block or something in Virasana, you must sit on that same thing in Bardvajasana. Looks like that. So you see how her toes are draped across? Only her toes, so she did not cross her ankle, only toes. So now the toes are stretching the top of her left foot, and her hip is here. If you are practiced enough, listen carefully, if you are practiced enough, you can take the block out, but you must still be able to flex your left thigh and push your left knee down into the floor. This is a stability piece. Great. And from here we twist and we can do all sorts of things. So take your right hand. Now, this is what we might need a yoga strap if you're tight. So just be aware. I'm going to give that variation. The right arm stretches out to your right, palm turned back behind you. Move it back as far as you can, keeping it that high. Bend, take the arm lower then, push it back more. Bend the elbow, try to grab your left arm. So you see Tristan's grabbed her left bicep. Yeah. So now you've got a hold of your left bicep. So the twist begins now. The twist does not happen where we torque our shoulders and then reach behind us. With this arm behind you, your arm will be the guide of where the twist will do the greatest work. So now Tristan's going to take her left hand and she's going to keep holding, and she's going to hold on for dear life with that right. She's going to stretch that left arm forward and try to grab a hold of her right knee. And when she does that, she will twist and there will be no fighting it. Now, if you don't twist very far, that's okay. This is hard. because this is not letting you only work your shoulders. When you feel that arm across your back, and even if you're using a strap around your left arm, and you take that arm across, the middle of your back has to twist. The shoulder blades have to twist. None of this is happening just in your joint. This is working a lot of different back muscle, which I'm sure a lot of you feel. So do the best you can. Stretch that left arm. That right hand has it, and you're stretching that left arm to teach the back muscle of the upper back to move. How you feel? It's good barbell. Very good footwork too. So I like to take, like, on my really tight days, like, 360 days of the year, I take my left hand and I'll grab my inner left thigh and push. And then as my left hand gets a little more, I can reach for the outer thigh and push. And then I crawl the hand down towards the knee. But, you might not make that today. All right, exhale, out you come. Come forward, switch your feet. See, Pratima, we can do a little bit of footwork. And it not be as awful. Yoga is a whole body experience. When you're with your teachers, you should always ask for the moon, because you might be surprised that someone can be like, all right, we'll give you the moon in down dog. So left toes go over right Achilles tendon, not the ankle, just the toes drape over it. Your right hip sits on your left heel. Left arm goes behind you, stretch it out to the side straight, move it back. This moves your shoulder blade. Lower it, push it back harder. This now engages your lateral body. Bend the elbow, stretch it across, and try to grab your right arm. Now, I'm going to give you a tip. If you move your right arm really far back behind you to help do that, it's going to be really hard to twist. So you gotta stretch that left arm into it. Take your right arm, stretch it forward as far as you can, and reach for any part of your legs to help pull and rotate. Good, Chaya. You feel that in your shoulder? Yeah, good. Elise, try to keep your right hip down. It's starting to come up into the air. Yeah, I see that. Thank you. Good. Pratima, stretch that right arm. Make that right arm do some of the work. Push it onto your inner right thigh and help that make the twist. Inner thigh dear. Yeah, like that. Push against it. You may not twist far. And this, even all the years that I've done it, this action is still very challenging for me because I sit in a computer chair a lot. I slouch a lot. Just the weight I carry. So when you do this, the tendency it starts to make a lot of the different stuff across your mid to upper back work. And it's not going to let you just twist your shoulders. Here in a moment, we're going to change it up. You're going to get to see what I'm talking about. But take the first lessons of the class into play here. Visually look at yourself, see what's going on in your body, even though it's what's called an asymmetrical pose. Nothing is perfectly even here. Are you working each leg? Are you pushing your outer right knee into the floor? Are you still lifting the heart and stretching that right arm into play? And then take a breath. The deeper you breathe in twisting, always better. The more you breathe into the lungs, it will spread the rib. It will massage the back. Slowly, but it happens. And then feel the skin across the muscle. Feel the muscle on the bone. Take yourself into the layers or koshas, the sheaths of self. Annamaya kosha is the body, Manomaya kosha is mind, Pranamaya kosha is your breath. Those are the first three that we work to integrate in this work. Like I said at the beginning, when the troubles and the wonderful things of life happen, you got to know where those three parts of you are, because those are the three parts that will show up and help you and the world ultimately. All right, untwist. Come forward, switch legs again. If this is becoming easy for you and you want to try it without a prop under your hips, go for it. I'm not going to beat you up about it. So now we're going to do it the old way, where you can kind of fudge it. Take your left hand and grab your outer right knee. Take your left hand back behind you, fingertips on the floor or the block. Bend your left arm and twist to your right as hard as you can. Feels like you can go a mile, right? This is like the easiest twist on the planet. But where is the twist happening from? A lot of it's going to be happening now from the shoulders pulling back and from the front ribs sticking out. We're doing one of these. We're posing. So now, hold this. And as my teacher would say, now you have to really ask yourself, am I doing it? Take your right hand behind you and try to touch the top of your left thigh. And stretch your right hand down your left thigh as far as you can. And just reach for it. Even if you don't touch it, you stretch for it. And notice how your right hip will come back down into the thing. It is easy to make our hips do the work when we don't have something asking our back to do the work. So what the arm across your back did is made you honestly do it from your back. Now your hips can't do the pose. Untwist, do the other side again. It's always worth exploring each one, even though they might be hard. And even if you think you know the answer, have a little bit of rebellious teenager, right? Even if you never said it to your parents, say it to yourself now. You think you know me so well? It's not a phase, Mom. Right hand goes to the outer left knee, left hand just back behind you. Twist as much as you can. And notice where your hips go when you try to twist. Just let yourself rotate using the strength of your arms. I promise you, your left hip will come down, your right hip will go up. Everyone's does. Because the minute you can manipulate the shoulder, the pelvis will go with it. That's why the first version of this is the harder version, but it is the version that ultimately does more for your shoulder and back over time. And also teaches you where your hips are. Both are valid and good. Mr. Angard taught this one for years. Take your left hand back behind you, reach for the top of your right thigh. And notice, even though it might be easier to initially twist with this, adding the arm to it, you almost find a resistance of your whole back getting involved. Mr. Angard would say, how you get into a pose matters. What you do matters. Yoga teaches us that. It's very easy for some of us, myself included, to forget that what we do matters. Yoga asks us to remember that every single time. So look at your body. Look at what you're doing to yourself. Don't check out. Don't lose your sharpness. Practice your sharpness now with your teacher, with me here hounding you, so that when I'm not here, you might still hear that voice that reminds you, and that voice becomes your own. Pay attention to yourself. All right, untwist. Come up off the block. Lay on your backs. You made it. You lived. Or you didn't. Right? Reincarnation, something has to go away, so something is reborn anew. So lay on your back, my friends, stretch your legs out, take a short savasana. Let your legs relax, the tongue away from the roof of your mouth. Take the moment to support yourself. Cover your body, prop your legs up, whatever you need that is the most comfortable for you. And as you take a few deep breaths in, slow breaths out, what is different for you now than when you first came into class? And for change to happen, something has to go so something can come in. At least do child's pose instead of laying flat on your back. So what, my friends, with your eyes closed and the tongue away from the roof of the mouth, what are you willing to let go or to die or be gone so that there's a different idea of you or belief of yourself that comes into this moment? Right? Just as reincarnation, by good works, we climb the karmic ladder. I was a very good, cricket. Then I was a very good house cat. Whatever. I don't know if that's my path, but as an example. In this moment, what did you do for yourself so well that you can give yourself just 2 minutes of belief that something new is there for you, that you reincarnate into a different version of you, stronger, healthier, wiser, more steady, healed. Whatever it is you're looking for, let yourself come into that. Even if for just a moment, give yourself that belief. Because if one thing is true, yoga asks us to believe in to recognize non-truth. And all of you that I've met, whether in person in the studio or only here online, I know this to be true. None of you are so wrong and that your pain makes all of who you are. None of you are the sum of your problems. I know that. So for a moment, let go of a non-truth or a belief about yourself that is not beneficial for your life, that was told to you, that you picked up from somewhere, people picking on you, whatever, and reincarnate it into something new. Let it die for even just a moment with that full sharpness and awareness. Give it all that attention that you had and rest for a minute. Enjoy the fruits of your yogic practice. Slowly increase the depths of your breathing. Begin to awaken the body, opening, closing the hands, pointing, flexing the feet. Roll your body to the right side and lay there, taking a few breaths in, slow breaths out. And if you, before you come fully back, decide that thing about you that you believe in now, that you've created, that you manifest, is something you want to bring with you, that it's so wonderful that it needs to be in the world, choose to bring it with you and let that other part go. And as you exhale, slowly up you come.